list is Monaco, fabled playground of the rich and the romantic. And today, there is a special excitement as Monaco rises to greet this special day.
From the glamour capitals of Europe comes the exciting drama of the men and the women who live the passionate adventure of Grand Prix racing.
Welcome to the 2012 GPVWC Monaco track preview. Round 6 of the championship takes place around the streets of Monte Carlo. Track length of 3.34 kilometres, 18 turns, 78 lap race distance for Super League, 44 for Super Cup. Dave Smith, the winner in 2011, on the Popple Speed for Super Cup in 2011. The championship currently looks like this. For Super Cup, Peter on 60 points, Rickard Helston on 45 points, and Alex Cooper on 41 points. Lucas Euler heads Super League on 62, with myself and Nick Ronan in second on 60 points. Lee Morris is on 48 points, and outgoing champion Joe Consiglio on 34 points, who has now decided to retire. So we come on to the start straight with Lucas Euler on board here. Heading down towards turn 1, which is Sandevot, sixth into first gear. Clip the apex nicely as we climb up the hill now through Beau Rivage. From first gear, climbing all into sixth gear, we just crest heading in towards Massenet. Massenet would drop back down to first gear, hold it all the way through the left and then the right of Casino. Come from Casino, we can miss the bump on the left hand side down into Mirabeau, first gear again. Short shoot now from Mirabeau down into the Grand Hotel hairpin. Lot steering lock required here in this first gear. All this section is first gear for Lucas as we now head down into Portier. Critical to get the exit of Portier right as we head into the infamous tunnel section. Tunnel section, we have the glaring sun coming into our faces as we exit, heading down now into the Nouvelle chicane. Again, heavy braking downhill, first gear. Clip it as well as you can, left, then right, accelerating back up into the back corner. Fourth into third gear, hold it all the way through the chicane, into now the swimming pool section. Right, then left, first gear again. Climbing back up into third gear, down 2 gears into first for the wonderful Rascasse section. Up from Rascasse into anti-nose corner, straighten the car up for best traction, drive to the line. A wonderful lap there from Lucas Euler, taking us around this track preview for Monaco.
Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC's coverage of the Super League Series here at the Monte Carlo circuit. We're just coming to the end of the qualification session. My name is Simon Smith, we're here on simrace.tv, and I'm also joined alongside by the mercurial William Ponissi. Hello Will.
Hello Simon, how are you doing?
I'm rather cushy, thank you very much, especially now that I've just demolished a custard cream. How are you?
Really, really well. Unfortunately, my dinner hasn't been yet, but there's plenty on my plate here with the Monaco Grand Prix, so hopefully they'll keep us busy for a while.
Definitely, there is plenty on the plate. There's plenty on the plate for all of the 24, 25 drivers here today for the streets of Monte Carlo. 78 laps here as ever for race distance for open wheelers. We've also got Simon Melhuish being our cameraman extraordinaire behind the scenes, keeping us all clued up on the eyes. So for qualification just coming to an end there. We didn't expect the epic starting videos there, but we was pleased to have them. Lucas Oiler pops the Midnight Motorsport car on pole position with a time of 1:11.427 ahead of Jarl Tynan for Racing, Nordstrom Racing, some 4/10 down. Lee Morris third for Drake Racing, a half a second down. Nick Rowland, the second of the Midnight Motorsport cars, in fourth. Dave Carr Smith 5 for Green Stripes Racing. Yanni Taskanen for Red Archer in sixth, with Simon Cattell, Rude Heasterbeek, awesome name, Keith Story and Lewis Redshaw ending at the top 10. We'll take you down the rest of the grid later on, but Will, I think this one is going to be one that sorts out the big Schrotons from the little Schrotons, surely.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's exactly going to do what you just said, but sure, it's going to be an awesome race. And you know, Monaco is, you never know, you really never know what's gonna throw your way. It could be like we've seen last year. Big leaders falling out, surprise winners. So it's really going to be one hell of an evening.
I think so, and maybe a surprise winner is exactly what we need. We're on round 6 of the championship, as far as I know. Could be making that up, who knows. But Lucas Oiler has got 62 points, 2 points ahead of fellow teammate Nick Rowland, but those two have absolutely dominated a lot of the races so far. It's a big gap back to 48 points for Lee Morris in third, with Joe Consiglio, who's not here as far as I can see, in fourth. So we need a little bit of a shakeroo, don't we?
No, absolutely. I mean, credit to Midnight. They've been doing a wonderful job. They've been spotless in the R&D department, and most importantly, whenever one of the two drivers stumbled, the others was there to keep up the good results for the team. So they've been absolutely brilliant so far. But I think it's good. It's good for the league. There's drivers like Lee Morris and Dave Carr Smith to keep them up on their toes, and you know, hopefully we'll have a different team on the top step of the podium at the end of tonight's race.
Fantastic. So I mean, GPVWC, which is of course over at GPVWC. Get your teeth in, you dopey sod. GPVWC.com. Has a very different dynamic to a lot of other leagues, doesn't it? It's got this R&D development thing. Talk me through this, because I've kind of watched the league on and off for a while, and I was going to enter a team into it a while ago, and I was fascinated with the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff. So explain this to someone who is a little bit blonde and a bit rubbish.
Well, what really sets us apart from all other leagues is it's our team management system. We take inspiration from some of the glorious games of the past, especially Grand Prix Manager 2, which is a game where we spent far too much time, according to our parents, probably back then in the day.
Didn't know who my parents were when I played that game.
Well, that's a strategy, but unfortunately, that's what hurts so much when I was doing it. If only they knew what else I was doing. But that's a different story. It's probably not suitable for broadcast.
We're not 9 o'clock yet, Will.
Indeed, we'll save it for later. We'll save it for later, absolutely. Basically, like, we've got a team management system. It's not just about who's driving the car the fastest. It's all about the team that's behind the scenes and provides the car to the drivers. Team managers have to manage the finances of the team, and they have to manage the development of the team. And obviously, through testing and through development, they can produce improved parts for the car that can then fit on the car, and hopefully that's going to give them an edge over the opposition.
Oh, stuff. So, what would you say is the main quality then that can push your car forward in R&D? Is it overall high results? Is it consistency over the course of the season? What would you say is some key element, would you say?
Well, the beautiful thing is that there's not a real single answer to this question. We've seen last year a few teams going in big chunks of development, you know, just waiting maybe until half season and then rushing through a massive amount of developments all at once. Other teams instead taking like a more consistent way and introducing like a couple of steps at each race, and some teams may have had the edge at the start of the season, and some instead caught up later, and you know that brought us some incredibly unpredictable racing last year, and it also provided us with something like, I believe it was 6 different winners throughout the whole season, which is, you know, always a good indication that things are pretty much out in the balance.
Wow. I think that sets ourselves up for a pretty awesome evening of entertainment here today on simrace.tv. You can, of course, get yourself all social networked up, you filthy animals, over at twitter.com. We'll be keeping an eye on that. There is a chat room over at simrace.tv in the Stream 1 chat, where I shall plop myself into there in a little bit, and of course you can also send us Facebook messages across. We do always appreciate everyone's comments and interactivity, because if there's anything I do like to do on the internet, it's to get in touch with other people in more ways than one. And yes, I have been told I do give good tweet. So, moving forward, we've just got about a minute left from warm-up. Any drum-rolling predictions there from Mr. Ponissi?
Well, Lucas Euler, you can't look away from him, to be honest, on a race like this. He's starting from pole position. When he hasn't been hampered by trouble, he's been absolutely dominant this season. And even though we've got people like Lee Morris and Dave Smith who are absolute masters around Monaco, I can't see anyone else winning this race but Lucas.
Well, I did see Georgios Davakos out there, so anything can happen when a blue flag comes. It will be interesting to see. They're just getting themselves set for the grid. As I say, 78 laps. Of course, you've got your own pit stop strategies should you need any. Damage multiplier for people who like the stats are set at 75%. Everything is disallowed except for auto clutch, and only black flag rules apply. But yeah, just make sure you don't get in the way, because I'm sure people will be slightly annoyed after the race if you do so. A lot of drivers actually being quite wary in the chat room before the race themselves, saying this, we're in it for the long haul and here we go and oh god and things like that. So they feel the dread, I think.
Well, you never know what happens on turn 1. I mean, we've seen last year we had a restart because of all people we had a collision between Joe Consiglio and Lee Morris, the two most experienced drivers probably on the grid. So if it can happen, it will probably happen here in Monaco.
Good stuff. I always used to rely on Monaco for my miniature haul of points that I could get across a season in the championship. I remember scoring. Actually, I remember being upside down at Monaco once and still scoring, which must have been a race of extreme high attrition somewhere along the line. But never mind. Yeah. This is a random side note. Where does your surname come from, Will?
Oh well, I'm Italian, and as such, my surname is from Italy.
Ah, okay. Because it does sound suspiciously. Oh, connection. Suspiciously like either a cross between a really posh car or a race team or a breed of dog. I can't quite work out which one it is. Oh, look, what have you got there? It looks so cute. Oh, it's just my little Ponissi. That would be so cute. Waggling its tail and doing a little poodle bomb on the side. It'd be great.
To be honest, I would rather be associated with a powerful brand of Italian cars. Some like the Ferraris, Maseratis, and Ponissis of this world.
Awesome stuff. What could I say about mine? I'm just a common old moose, to be fair. You can't do anything with me, except I do have a song about an amazing dancing bear. So,
well, that's an image that it would take some effort to erase from my mind, but on we go with the broadcast.
That is true. They're just resetting the grid. There's just a little bit of a problem there. Talking of teddies, there is a film that's coming out soon called, I think it's just called Ted. Looks awesome. I really want to see that. Just like an angry teddy bear just going through its day-to-day life, looking really, really annoyed.
Oh, is there some sort of like horror slasher movie?
No, but that would be awesome.
I don't think anyone's ever done it with with a teddy bear. I've seen obviously Chucky, but we could be onto something here.
Back from the dead down at Raskas. Ted. Da, 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 da. But although, have you ever played the game Naughty Bear?
No, I haven't. But is there something we can talk about before 9?
It is. Well, kind of. It's just that it's like a shoot 'em up, except it's with teddy bears, and you can kill them in all different ways. So, like, you de-stuff them and things. It's a really bad game, but you have to play it for comical value. But no, that is definitely a before 9 game. Just about. Might give kiddies nightmares. Sorry, kids.
Yeah, I'm sure that if someone heard us, talking about how fun it is to gut teddy bears, I think they would send someone to get us checked.
Nothing wrong with a white coat. That's what my mum always told me. Although some people on the way into work today, the way home from work today, really did need some white coats. This lady come and asked me if she could use my toilet. No, she couldn't, actually, to be fair. Then the next person was just equally as random, going on about have I seen their hedgehog. Then this other woman came along. She was at the bus stop. Where I live, I'm right next to a Jehovah's Witness centre, which is really good because they don't knock on their own turf. Heaven. So, she walked past and she went, well, I've been waiting at this bus stop for ages and no bus has come. And I was like, well, stuff happens, I'm afraid. Not really the leader of the public transport. And she was proper having a go at it. And then she said, well, can you just lend me a tenner so that I can then call a taxi? I went, well, no, not really. I'm on my way home, thanks. And then she went, how very unchristian of you. And I was so annoyed with her. I said, well, what do you expect? You're standing in front of a Jehovah's Witness centre. Angry, Simon.
I know, and it's amazing. It's amazing to think we're just on the eve of one of the most exciting Grand Prix of the season, and we're talking about angry ladies at bus stops.
I know. We've not even started the race yet. This is all downhill.
But suppose that people, and also judging by some comments of the people that are listening to us, I think that they will be expecting some pretty long 2 hours now.
Well, I didn't. I was going to say if I survived 24 hours as a broadcast, but I didn't, thanks to a dodgy takeaway bingo. Well, I've made 12 and 16-hour broadcasts. I'm sure too. There's plenty of barrier action around here anyway, so...
Yeah, that should keep us entertained.
Oh, I think so. So we've got about 60 seconds remaining just to wait for one of the drivers, Scott, to rejoin back into the server, and then we'll be off and racing again. There was a little bit of a problem when we moved forward to the race itself. A couple of guys lost connection. But we are getting ourselves all sorted. As a sim racing driver or a team owner, do you ever have any last minute preparations or any kind of superstitions that you go through?
No, it's just like the warm-up is the crucial time in which you have to ensure that everything that you may need or not need to do in the next hour and a half, 2 hours is on. So make sure you got snacks, you got a bottle of water.
Go to the toilet, surely.
Yeah, your bladder needs to be empty. You haven't got the luxury that real Formula 1 drivers have. You can't go in your cockpit. So absolutely, it's the preparation time, and I find it that also taking my mind off the racing can sort of help me cure my jittery nerves and a bit of apprehensiveness before the race. But then again, I'm absolutely useless at racing, so who am I to speak?
AJ Clark has just popped in. A brown paper bag is every sim racing driver's best friend. I don't think I'll be going to his for dinner. So we'll just be moving forward. They're just resetting the grid now, and hopefully we'll be going again. Just for information, Jarl Tinen, for Nordjern Racing is top in the warm-up with a 1:12.877 ahead of Bart DeVoe, David Junt and Kieran Ryan, with Gavin Thomas rounding out the top 5. Not many taking the chance to set full times. I always used to warm up myself to sit and practice the in and out of the pit lanes, because I'd kind of forget to do any of that before I'd actually get to warm up, and then realise that of course it's a long race, you're going to have to pit. If not for fuel, it would be for a front wing when you've buggered it in turn 1.
Yeah, I think actually that's one of the advantages of the rule that we have within the GPVWC, that forbids you to press in the S button to sort of come back to pits. You have to go back to your pit stall. So drivers throughout practice and qualifying get plenty of practice in getting in the pits. So that's probably something they feel comfortable enough by the time warm up is up.
Awesome. And would you say one stop?
I don't think so. I think most of the drivers will have thought, I'm going to go with a few more stops, because probably I will need to stop anyway for a new front wing, at least except the very front runners who can feel confident enough. That would be something that I would think before starting this race.
Good stuff. So, in reply to Matthew Chan, the race will be starting in a couple of minutes. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chan. No relation, as far as I know, to Jackie, but I'm sure if he is, you'll give me a good old kick to tell me off otherwise. And it's... I do miss racing. I did used to do quite well on street circuits. I think because where I drove with a gamepad, you can just throw the car left and right at 90-degree angles, and it used to cover up the fact that I was really imprecise. So it was quite good. I used to do very well at Singapore for that reason, actually, to be fair.
Singapore, I've been actually kind of lucky in the past at Monaco. I've scored some good points, like you said before, taking advantage of a lot of retirements. But Singapore is one of those tracks where, for one reason or the other, I've never managed to, score points. I was in good condition to do in a few cases, but I've had the most absurd incidents, including a high-speed smash with my teammate in 2010. So it's one of my black tracks.
We're just having a quick reset again. Dave Carr-Smith dropped connection as soon as we moved to the race. But then I saw Dave drop out of everything, so that was his fault, not anyone else. But as he controls the server, we need to get him back in and going again. So we'll just be another minute and a half or so, and then we'll be off and ready again. Apologies for the delay here on the simrace.tv broadcast of the GPVWC.com Monaco Grand Prix of the Super League. That really needed like a fanfare that, did it really, to be fair?
Yeah, that was probably a bit overdone, but still, you know, it's an occasion. It's Monaco, and you know, we had a very interesting race. I'm told, unfortunately, I did not get the chance to see it last night in the Super Cup, and hopefully we're in for yet another treat tonight.
Absolutely. And there he is, just back into the server. Of course, it's not just a Super League that GPVWC do, is it?
No, I mean we've got a range of competition that has recently been expanded. We obviously had the Super Cup, which is the second level, sort of the GP2 style championship, which has been going on for a couple of years. And this year we've introduced a couple of other series, the Formula Challenge, which is the very entry point in the sort of the ladder that brings up to the Super League, and the World Sport Series, which is a sport Porsche Super Cup style, and they've seen a very positive uptake by drivers. I mean, we didn't expect both series to fill up so quickly, and we've had some very strong fields so far.
Non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
Well, would all personnel leave the grid? Third time lucky. I've got my Schroten's crossed. I think we'll be good to go. Got about 20 seconds left for the countdown, and then we'll take you round the formation lap and down the grid of the 23 strong drivers. We've lost a couple then during some of that, never mind. And we shall be racing finally here around the streets of Monaco. Well, if anywhere's going to be a diva and get it going as if they're going to be a sister of drag racing with drag, it's going to be Monaco. Lucas Euler then leads us round on the formation lap here for Midnight Motorsports. He is our championship leader. Starting alongside him will be Jarl Tynan for Nordschon Racing. Third on the grid is Lee Morris for Drag Racing, third overall in the championship. Starting alongside second place championship position man Nick Rowland for Midnight Racing in fourth position. Fifth will be Dave Carr-Smith for Green Stripes Racing. Alongside him will be Jani Taskanen for Red Archer. Seventh will be Simon Cattell for Kernau Sport. Eighth, Rude Boy Heeksterbeek even, for Nigio Racing. Keith Story is starting from the pit lane in the second of the Drake Racing team. Something didn't go right there, unfortunately. Saying lag couldn't leave pit box, that would be why. And Lewis Redshaw rounds out the top 10 for Hawkeye Racing, with Kieran Ryan 11th for Wood Racing, and Bart DeVoe in 12th for Hawkeye Racing. And it looks to me like he's lagged out altogether, as will take us from 13 downwards.
Well, on 13 we got David Junt, who was one of the protagonists last season. Is behind him we'll have OJ Clark, who's apparently been complaining. I'm reading from some radio transcript that he's got problems with the packers on his setup, and apparently the car is not something that feels good.
Are they fudging?
Probably. I'm not privy to that kind of information. But going down the grid, we've gone Tom Parker in second, Boots Racing in 15th, Gavin Thomas on Red 5 Racing 16th, followed by David Stanton in the first of the Constants. Pavel Loknovsky, astonishingly 18th with his teammate in second, so very poor qualifying for the Estonian driver. We've got Bardevos actually just left the game, lagged out and left the game. So that promotes Max Stanton up to 18th, followed by Jeff Mead on the Red 5 Racing, Mark Wicks on the second Kernel Sport in 20th, and closing on the last row with Chris Williamson on Nijo and Christoph Liechtenstein on the second Green Stripe Racing, and that's the grid.
So, the grid is set. We are ready to go racing for 78 laps of high-octane action here for GPVWC. And we're away, and Teenan's got much better start. Looking Oilers, what has he done? It's like he's stuck in gear. He's dropping down the field. He's already down to 10th before he even get to Saint-Deveau, and they're free abreast, and it's problems there. I can see a front wing lowing around the track. I think everyone else has kind of scrolled through. Problems for Chris Williams is the man that's lost out at the back. Dave Carr-Smith has moved into the lead though from 5th position. Teenan has dropped down to 2nd. Cattell up into 3rd for Gurnell. There's contact between Tynan and Carr-Smith. Carr-Smith holds the lead there. Tynan backs out a bit. Cattell up to 3rd. Fantastic start. Morris 4th. Then Taskanen, Roland, Heasterbeek, Ryan, Redshaw, Euler and Stanton. Then we've got Gavin Thomas in 12th, but Lucas Euler down to 10th position. That looked like he was about to be 12th before he got to turn 1. He held off 2 positions there. Everyone has actually got all their car parts together. It was a bollard I saw bouncing across. Nick Rowland, though, suddenly down to 6th position. He's lost 2 places somewhere along the line. I can see big smoke down at the chicane. It's Luknovsky being passed by OJ Clark, who goes up to 16th for Synergetic Motorsports. Everyone else just about going through. Keith Story has left the grid there as well. Oh, and that's Taxton in 8th position. Yanni's down to 9th. He smacked the barriers there, being overtaken by Nick Rowland at the Rascasse. He's got back going again as they come out of Anthony Nogues and down the straight. But after the first lap, it is Carr-Smith from Tynan, Cattell, Lewis Morris, that's wrong, Lee Morris, then Rowland, Heasterbeek, and that is problems there for Taskanen. He is out of the Monaco Grand Prix after just a single lap. Yanni there in trouble, and that's not good at all, as Dave Carr-Smith there smacking by Jarl Tynan, who just started to do a Hamilton really up into the hairpin, and that did not go to plan at all. Absolutely crazy start there, Will.
Absolutely, and I mean, look at where Lucas Euler and Nick Rowland are. I mean, such a dominant performance by Euler in qualifying and such a poor start, and if there's a place where you don't want to get such a start, is Monaco. He now has an absolute mountain to climb to get the best out of this race. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah, not good at all. P15, Pavel Luknovsky has just passed OJ Clark down into the chicane. Great move there. It's practically belly flopped over the tyres, but Nordschen Racing's Jarl is having a go at Dave Carr-Smith again down into Saint-Deveau, but he had his line cut off as Simon Cattell continues in 3rd position ahead of Lee Morris just about. Those two are toe to toe as they come around just 1.2 seconds behind our leaders, Carr-Smith and Tynan. And that looked like Lee Morris pulling out to have a look down into Massenet, but that didn't work out at all. But ooh, he's having another look there down into the hairpin as Cattell runs a little bit wide. Nick Rowland now free of Heasterbeek up into 5th position. Euler up into 7th as he's just passed Kieran Ryan, with Mark Stanton, Gavin Thomas and Lewis Redshaw in a freeway scrap, as Carr-Smith once again pushing out to defend. And Jarl has got 76 laps. He's got plenty of time to bide, hasn't he?
Yeah, but that
oh no, he's not! Sorry to scream over you there. Carr-Smith smacks into the inside barrier and into the outside for the swimming pool as well. That's over the anti-cuts and through will go Jarl. Carr-Smith there, that car, if that isn't slightly dodgy now, it will be
he's got a puncture.
in trouble.
He's got a puncture. And you know, I was about to say, this is not working out for Tayen. I mean, he needs clear track. He's on a faster car than Dave Carr-Smith, and he's just holding it back. And with Lee Morris still stuck behind Simon Cattell, Jarl Tayen needed clean track, and he took a gift from Dave Carr-Smith, 2011 winner. And now we have a race on our hands, and you know it's for me it's between Jarl and Lee Morris.
Absolutely. So pressure getting the better there of Carr-Smith. He's rejoined in 18th position, just ahead of Keith Story, who's just overtaken Christoph Lichtenstein. Lewis Redshaw's got no front wing in 16th position. He's been off into the barriers at the casino. As Cattell is struggling with Morris. He's gone in very, very wide. He's managed to cover the line perfectly as Cattell. He's a little bit wiggly on the exit. Morris is going to have a half-hearted look there. Once again, looking like he's going to try and pressurise Cattell into a mistake, but he's been able to hold off there. Rowland's in trouble because Heasterbeek's got through up into 4th position. So Nick Rowland, I'm just going to take a quick replay. he's had problems as Morris goes through up into second position as Cattell runs wide out of the Rascasse and is through, and Cattell not looking like he's going to have it as Ruud Heesterbeek up into fourth position, Euler up into 5, Rowland down to 6th. I'd say that's team ball tactics going on. Carl Smith already up into 17th as Lewis Redshaw is limping to the pits in 19th for Hawkeye Racing for repairs.
And I think there, Simon, I've been looking at this start again, and I've been looking at the previous races starts, and I mean, there's something wrong at midnight. There's just something they can't seem to grasp about the way the car starts, because they've been losing so many positions at the start. And I mean, obviously they've got 2 extremely talented drivers, they've got 1 fantastic car, and they can't get the positions. But is this going to cost them in the long run? Is this going to cost them because they are losing so much every single start?
It's helping them out for the time being because they're still top of the constructors and drivers titles, but they're not making their lives easy for them as Ruud Heesterbeek continues to hold off the Midnight Racing duo, now down in 5th and 6th positions. Rowland wasn't too bad off the line. It was Euler who had an absolute shocker of a getaway. It was almost like he forgot to come out of first gear, but he was slow to react off the lights as well. So yeah, as you say, they're not helping each other as Euler trails Heesterbeek, who that should really be some kind of supercharged bird, to be fair.
And at the same time, we've got Tom Parker, who's been seeing one of the famous or infamous Monaco Armco barriers a bit too close. Now he's in the pits getting a new replacement nose cone. He's obviously he fell in front of a battle between Dave Smith and no, it was Liechtenstein and Wicks, and almost got collected by both of them.
It's a shame there for Parker because he did, I think, saw him in 12th position momentarily, but obviously he's not there now as he rejoins in 20th of the 21 drivers remaining, although Lewis Redshaw's going to beat him down into Saint-Devoux. Indeed he does, so Parker rejoins last. So currently then, Tynan leads by a second from Cattell. Heesterbeek has got Rowland going round the outside of him in Rascasse, and Heesterbeek has to go slam on the brakes. Euler there, sorry that was, drives right up into 4th position. That was a stupendous move there down into Rascasse, down the outside, cuts across and says thank you very much, and the gap is immediately apparent as Rowland now takes a look at the Nijo Racing driver, and Ruud not being rude at all. In fact, he's been very gentlemanlike indeed as he comes around the top of the hill. Such a steep incline, the cameras don't do it justice as you come try to avoid the bump down into Massenet and then down into the hairpin itself, whatever it's called these days.
And at the front you can see Lee Morris. Once he managed to clear Cattell, his gap to Yartayan has gone down dramatically, and now he's just right in the diffuser of the Nushan car. So we might be gearing for a very, very intense battle for the lead.
Absolutely. How close would you say you get before the draft effect starts to hit in?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that he's anything below half a second can start unsettling your car. I know that some teams have, one of the R&D options is to sort of improve the behavior of a car, when in drafting conditions.
Sorry, Rowland and Heesterbeek 5 and 6. Rowland took a stab down into Saint-Devoux and has let Heesterbeek get back through again. So as you were, sorry there, Will.
Yeah, it's one of the things you can improve, but I don't think any team, especially any of the front-running teams, has invested any development effort into it. But Tayen was a bit sideways out there before the tunnel, so that could give Lee Morris an advantage.
That is, well, I tell you what, if you did that to someone under the age of 16, you would be in trouble. But Tynan continues to hold off Morris for the time being, but he's sticking his wheel in where it wasn't necessarily wanted, and sometimes down at that chicane it's always going to be an ever-decreasing circle of a gap, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, and it's a matter of how much space the driver in front wants to give you. I mean, he's in front, he can see you coming, but if he closes the door and you're tempted to just lunge in a space that was gonna always disappear, then you don't have any way out, and the only way is through the side pod of the car in front.
Dave Smith moves past Pavel Luknovsky for 12th and 13th position. Roland has now got past Heasterbeek as Euler has a look at Cattell and Morris has a look at Tynan, so we've got plenty of batters on our hand. A fantastic scrap in the midfield as well from Gavin Thomas in 9th position downwards. You've got David Stanton, David Junt, Dave Carr-Smith making his ascent up the order, Pavel Luknovsky, OJ Clark and Jeff Mead, all within the space of about 4 seconds, so they are having an absolute titanic scrap as Morris once again has a look down into the chicane. Tynan's got wind of this one now though, because he just breaks that little bit later and goes deeper into the corner, and he feels confident that he can already have him covered off by the end of that short straight, and as long as he can keep doing that for the time being, he's okay, as Mark Stanton clatters the barriers ever so slightly at the second portier. Chris Williamson goes into the pits and moves out of the way of Jarl Tynan for the lead. That was just as well. They've lapped Keith Story, who now moves up into 20th position as Chris Williamson pits for the second time, I believe, or the first time that is. He's just lost a front wing, and Euler's up into 3rd.
Well, it will be interesting to see how long it takes for Euler to get on the back of this battling duo. What I find really interesting is the places where Lee Morris seems to be very close to Yarte, and slightly different from where other drivers have attempted, passing moves. He's trying at the end of the tunnel before the chicane, while he's not perhaps close enough in other moments, and I wonder whether he maybe got a knock during the early parts of the race that perhaps gave him some damage or affected his speed or his traction in other places of the track.
Quite possibly indeed, as the leaders kind of get through their team and smacks the inside barrier there. And I think that was Gavin Thomas in trouble as well in 15th position. No, he's managed to keep it all in one piece, but they were all trying to get round Chris Williamson to lap him. He moved out of the way quite nicely, but spinning on the middle of Portier, he's managed to get away with that unscathed. But there's problems for our leaders as they approach the traffic of, who was that? That was the green stripe car getting out of the way. Tynan there has got Morris practically glued to his rear wing, and I think he'll have a stab again down at the chicane. Tynan there abusing the inside pavement of the hotel hairpin.
No, I'm pretty sure the race director will be looking at some of the lines that the drivers are taking. I mean, there's not many obvious places beside the chicanes you can cut in Monaco, but because the barriers are ubiquitous. But I mean, if any of the drivers seem to be taking a bit of a too liberal line through some of the curbs, I'm pretty sure there will be penalties either during or after the race.
Dave Carr-Smith's just moved up into 8th position, getting past Mark Stanton in the first of the constant racings. His brother, David Stanton, in 10th position, has got David Junt, OJ Clark and Pavel Luknovsky, who's got Jeff Mead all over the back of him coming through the chicane in P14. But those collection of cars, very similar in qualifying as Jeff Mead goes in deep into the chicane for the Red 5 racing team. That's dropped him off the back slightly. But I think they'll be in plenty of wars for the rest of the race altogether, as Lee Morris once again all over the back of Tynan for the lead. They've got Lewis Redshaw as the next man they're looking to lap, who was just disappearing, and that was a pass for position? No, that was just Nick Rowland lapping Keith Story. Kieran Ryan has moved up into 7th position as well in all of this, in a battle pretty much all on his own, but he's going to be chased down hard by Dave Carr-Smith. As what was Tynan doing? As Morris takes the lead,
he just went so wide out of the tunnel and just left the door wide open for Lee Morris.
Did he hit the wall there? I'm just taking a quick look at the replay. For my replay, it kind of lags out as if he almost did.
I think it just went, for some reason, just went too wide. It doesn't look like he hits it in my replay, but Oh, the damage has been done.
It certainly has. Lee Morris straight away says yoinkaroo as they lap Tom Parker for the first time, and Morris takes the lead then for drag racing, and well, you could call it drag racing, and he'll be all dressed up to the nines with stilettos and all now that he's in to top position. Tynan moves up into moves down into second. Euler there, just 2.2 seconds behind for Midnight Racing in third. Do not count him out. Simon Cattell doing a fantastic job in fourth for the Kerno Sport team. Nick Rowland hunting him down in fifth with Ruud Heesterbeek dropping back in sixth. Kieran Ryan in seventh with Dave Carr-Smith in eighth, 31 seconds off the lead, with Mark Stanton and David Stanton leading a big train of David Junt, OJ Clark, Pavel Luknovsky and Jeff Mead, who's dropped off quite significantly with another dodgy lap. Mark Wicks in 15th in the second of the Kerno Sport cars, with Lewis Redshaw 16th, the last of the unlapped runners. Then one lap down, Tom Parker, Keith Story, Gavin Thomas and Christoph Lichtenstein. And 2 laps adrift already on just lap 13 of 78, Chris Williamson. And that will not have helped him at all, with Bart DeVoe and Yanni Taskanen are 2 retirements so far.
Yes, then there's now Euler right on the back of Tayen, so it's
didn't take long, did it?
It didn't absolutely. It looked like almost Euler was waiting for the battle between Morris and Tayen to be over before getting close and getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, well, he's going to be getting very dirty very shortly. In fact, so can we in 20 minutes when the watershed kicks in. That car reminds me of what if the Pacific F1 team was still going, what their 2012 car would look like today. I don't know why that popped into my head, showing my age. Is Euler a little bit ragged in between the portiers and running up right to the edge of the curb there. So easily done. Portier 2, that barrier, it always surprises me. Maybe it's because I'm rubbish. There's, ooh, Euler. That was a little bit of a late lunge. That was only ever going to end up with a chop off. But Porsche 2 always catches me out, and it's actually one of the corners that, along with the inside barrier of Casino, kind of is my pretend surprise crash places.
No, and it's one of those corners where it takes surprisingly little context to get pieces of your car flying.
Oh, P11. David Stanton spinning down at the chicane. He's and Lichtenstein having to go around the outside. David Stanton turns back round and gets back going again. I just saw him lose a position to David Junt. I think he's been in the walls because that car is not going quite where it should be going. I think he's on his way back to the pits, unfortunately. And it's been smoking through the tunnel, but I was going to say, when Dave Carr-Smith was going through the field, I kept seeing the smoke coming out, and it was coming from that constant racing car, as that's not the racing line, but David Stanton just trying to get his car back to the pits, walking wounded there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like he's got a puncture, he's got some serious problems, and I foresee lengthy repairments for that constant racing.
Absolutely, that's the kind of problem that a psychiatrist will not be able to help with unless he went into the barrier at top speed, and he's still needing to wet the bed later, as Tynan is going to be wetting the bed soon because Lucas Euler once again up onto the back of him. 4.2 seconds now behind Lee Morris. Lee Morris last time by put in a 1:13.525, which is about 4 tenths off his personal best. Tynan now is about to cross the line now and do a 1:15.0, so that is the difference now. Suddenly when you have to drive defensive, that's drama there, and Tynan once again abusing what is the limits of the track. Lichtenstein! Ah! My goodness me, Lichtenstein had nowhere to go. I thought they were going to take off and do their own version of Peter Pan at the top of the hill there. I believe I can fly, Wendy. There's next up, Lewis Redshaw to lap. Traffic doing very well for getting out of the way so far, actually. Hats off to him.
No, absolutely, and I mean in Monaco is a place where it's crucial not to lose time behind Marcus, especially when you're in such a close fight as Jarl and Lucas are in at the moment.
It can be so pivotal as well as look, who's that changing position? Oh, it's Mark Stanton in 11th place for Constant Racing in the pits, I believe. So it's both Stanton brothers in trouble and dropping it down the field. That will put Clark to 10, Luknovsky to 11, and Jeff Mead to 12 as Tynan plays catchy monkey with the barriers, and there's only ever going to be one loser from that, and it'll be him with a bit of a bloody nose.
To be honest, I've been looking at my notes, and I think Mark Stanton could be like the first regular stopper in the race. I mean, he didn't seem to have any problems coming in, and this could be well in the window for a 3-stopper.
How likely would you be to... I mean, I can understand going for a 3-stopper if you know that your front wings are going to be a little bit hit and miss. Oh, is Tynan there very wobbly out of the casino square and just about keeps it together over Euler. Let's see how much he abuses the pavement. Oh, not as much as before. As Dave Carr-Smith moves up into 7th, as Kieran Ryan's in the pits from what was 7th position, now down to 8th for Wood Racing. So I think you're right. People are pitting. I just didn't think a 3-stopper would work around Monaco because of all the traffic.
Well, I think many drivers are betting on a lot of the cars to drop out, you know, and sort of thinning the traffic through retirement. That could actually make the strategy work.
Absolutely. David jumped then into the pits, saying this could be one of the many reasons why my team sucks. As Lee Morris pits from the lead in for Drake Racing. Let's hope his team of drag artists will not keep him hold station for any longer than he needs to. As Tynan retakes the lead then, been a while since he's been there. Euler then up into 2nd position, a while since he's been there, as Tynan once again wobbly on the exit. That car does seem very tail happy and very much oversteery on the exit of a corner, which is never the best way for a car to be. As who's that in moving around? Oh, it's Heasterbeek smacking David Stanton down into turn 1 in P5. So that's a lapping. That doesn't need to be that dramatic. Lee Morris then rejoins in 4th and in clear air, which is key to him, ahead of Heasterbeek by a couple of seconds, as Dave Carr-Smith overtakes Simon Cattell. Dave Carr-Smith yet to pit. Cattell just rejoining after his first stop in 7th.
Yeah, you mentioned like Nurshan being pale happy. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen onboard footage of Joe Consiglio driving, and he loves oversteery cars, tail happy cars. They're like his thing. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that, you know, the way Joe shaped the development of this car, as Lucas Euler is pitting, so he could be on a 3-stopper.
Undercut, maybe, as Jarl gets around Mark Stanton. But yes, Euler in, Roland then up to 2nd, he continues on, and Euler's stop 1 second quicker than Lee Morris's, so that will eat into that. Morris of course got away under clear air and is already exiting Saint-Devoux now, so Euler back out in 5th position as Dave Carr-Smith is in the pits from 7th position, so that extra stop for being slightly out of strategy, not working for him. We've lost Chris Williamson, we've lost Tom Parker from 17th position in Wood Racing. He's crashed out down at Saint-Devoux, lost his front wing and then smashed it into the barriers at the top of the hill. I wonder if he actually knew that he'd lost his front wing and then went to brake normally and found that actually response was not the answer, as Dave Carr-Smith looks like he's going to rejoin right alongside OJ Clark for Synergetic Motorsports, but he's going to beat him up the hill. Indeed he does. Clark stays 8th with Lipnowski 9 and Mead in 10th. Those lot yet to pit. As Tynan, is he going to pit this time by? Roland looks like he's closed down, just 2 seconds between those two. Roland's dealt with the traffic much better. And well, Jarl somehow managing to find himself in 1st position quite often, but seems to be still wanting to try and reverse away from it whenever possible.
Well, obviously, I'm looking as a very interested party to what Jarl is doing, being his team manager. But obviously, we're all hoping that he can keep the car in one piece, especially because Pavel Luknowski in the sister car is not having the race of his life.
Don't diss a back marker. Luknowski though up into 9th position, so you must be happy as a team man, as Tynan there buggering it up for... Oh, it's David Stanton off again, down at the hairpin. He will not be enjoying that at all. He's down in 18th position. That car looks damaged for Constant Racing. He's back going again, desperately trying to get round the hairpin. He's got a lot of smoke coming out. He's gone off the racing line to try and let Heasterbeek through and Euler, and I think he's going to quit in the tunnel. Yes, he is. David Stanton, our next retirement, retiring officially with engine failure, but that was damage related as Mark Wicks picks from 17th position. Luknovsky is in from and rejoining from 11th. And Jarl Tynan has lost a second lap to Nick Rowland as Rowland pops into the pits from P2, but he'd lost a second that lap to Nick. And Tynan there, by staying out longer, these tyres not holding out particularly well. Either that or Tynan is just really not on the same level after 20 laps in as the heightened abilities of Nick Rowland, Lucas Euler and Lee Morris at the moment.
Well, obviously, I mean, if he's going for a different strategy, if he's going for a two-stopper instead of a 3-1, then tyres could play a very, very crucial part. I mean, we've seen that at the moment with the speed he has, even with fresher tyres, Tynan is still not having the edge in straight battles to keep in front of the other cars. So the strategy he's following could be potentially backfiring in the long run.
Great battle going on for 13th, 14th and 15th positions. I've just watched Kieran Ryan overtake Keith Story into the hairpin, completely clean, no contact whatsoever. That was great commitment by both drivers to make sure that happens. Kieran Ryan has lost out because he was in 7th position. He must have had problems somewhere along the line to be back down in 14th, because that's not worked out at all for him.
And Tayan finally stopped.
Well, hey, he's in and he's coming back out again, but he's going to come out. Well, Morris is through, Euler is through, and here comes Rowland through as well. So I think Tynan's going to rejoin down in 4th. Indeed he does. Rowland goes through up into 3rd position. Tynan down to 4th. I'm sorry, Will. That's not worked out for your team at the moment, as he rejoins behind Cattell as well. Cattell moves up into 4th. That's really not worked out for Jarl.
No, it's absolutely a disaster for Nursen and for Jarl. He's now got like the road ahead full of a kernel sport, and that's the least thing you wanted when coming out on fresh tyres.
I know. I'd have preferred that over a Woods racing at least. Exactly. Oh, Cattell! Has he moved out the way? That was bizarre.
Did you think he was being lapped?
Whoopsie! That's all I can say for that. It looked like he just moved out of the way. It was too precise to move out of the way, as if he was off the racing line and just got a bit tail happy.
No, that was totally deliberate. He definitely thought that he was not fighting for position.
Oh dear, that's not good at all.
And that's not something that probably Nick Rowland will want to hear in his radio.
Yeah, not good at all. Lewis Redshaw in from 14th position. That released OJ Clark up to 13, and Gavin Thomas will be having to go up to 14th. Indeed he does. So, still got 18 drivers running. Christoph Lichtenstein, the last of them, 3 laps adrift at the moment. Mark Wick still going, 2 laps down now. In the second of the Kerno Sport. So our racing order so far then, after the first round of stops for most of the drivers: Lee Morris leads for Drake Racing by 8 seconds from Lucas Euler in the first of the 2 midnight cars, ahead of teammate Nick Rowland. Jarl Tynan now up to 4th position for Nordstone Racing, ahead of Simon Cattell for Kerno. Ruud Heasterbeek, the most awesomest bird sounding name ever. He needs to come on with at least a bird whistle and do something. For Nijo Racing in 6th position. Green Stripes Racing for Dave Carr-Smith in 7th, and David Junt, who has pitted, because I've seen him pit, is in 8th now that he's clear of this great mid-battle, which is behind Pavel Luknovsky in 9th, and it's Mark Stanton, the other of the constant racing cars, who's faring much better than brother Dave, because he's out, and Kieran Ryan, who, as we saw, lost out. He was running 7th before the pit stop started, dropped down to about 15th, 16th position, and has been busy ascending back up the field. It looks like he's about to challenge him. You would hope, as we come out of the casino corner. And what is Stanton doing? I think Stanton is thinking survival. Stanton thinking survival. Kieran, off you go, mate. You go and do yourself some justice and see how far you get. Behind them too, Jeff Mead in the 05 racing car, ahead of Gavin Thomas in 13th in the second of the Red 5 racing cars. Then Keith Story 14th, right behind actually, as we've just lost Christoph Lichtenstein from 18th. He's just crashed out on his 21st lap, which just leaves then, behind Keith Story, Lewis Redshaw, OJ Clark and Mark Wicks, who is now the sole man 2 laps down.
It seemed like, you know, at least among the top 8, there's a bit of a spread between the drivers, so no obvious battles. Although, you know, Cattell is still within striking distance of Tayem, but he doesn't seem to have the speed to get close to the Nursen. So looking back at the first, you know, pit stop window, who do you think is going to come out on top, you know, at the end of the 78 laps?
Well, that's like asking what kind of topping do I want on my ice cream. I would just say whatever I can get my mitts on. But I don't know. Euler is closing down. The gap's now 7.7 seconds. I think we've still got, providing Crashgate doesn't work out, a 3-horse race between Morris, Euler and Rowland, because I think Rowland is the more passive of the 3, but therefore is more likely to have least mistakes. Whereas Euler and Morris are a little bit more hot-headed, potentially, and could end up in trouble when they collect each other. So maybe Euler, the faster of the 3, gets up to Morris, them 2 crash out, Rowland picks up pieces.
Well, there would be you know, very fitting way to get a 3rd win for Nick Rowland. I mean, he's been one of the drivers always spot on to make the most of the mistakes from other drivers, and he's netted 2 wins already. He's in the fight for the championship, so that could be something that really works out for him.
Well, fingers of the crossed for everybody, of course, as the field continue round. The gap now down to 7.1 seconds, so another chunk of time taken out. Let's hope he's not bulimic and spits it all back with a spin later on, because he's certainly gobbling it. Where else have we got scrabbling around further back? Battle for 13th and 14th position. Gavin Thomas for Red 5 has been caught by Keith Story, who unfortunately started from the pit lane and has had to struggle back up again. In fact, he caught him so quickly into Mirabeau, he tapped the rear of the Red 5 racing car. Such is the speed difference between the 2. Gavin Thomas has been busy battling around the 116s to the 118s, depending on how he's had to deal with traffic. Keith Story, on the other hand, has been busy down in the low 114s when he's been able to do so, although he had a 119 and lost 5 seconds last time, so not quite sure what he was up to there. Obviously being a little bit humble. They've got Lewis Redshaw just in the background, who's just been lapped by Dave Carr-Smith, so he could be joining the party quite soon. But Keith Story definitely piling the pressure of the Red 5 racing driver.
And I mean, one important thing to think about is these drivers know far too well that any position could be crucial in the long run. With retirements, we've seen quite a few already. You know, you may be fighting now for 15th or 16th, but you know, come the end of the race, there could be 1 or 2 points you're scrapping about.
Absolutely, as Gavin Thomas there. Oh, Keith Story so busy trying to go for the round the outside there, smacks into the barrier. Oh, Gavin Thomas there, very slidey at the exit of Casino. Can Story go for it down on the inside of Mirabeau? He does, but he's gone in too deep. He's gone round. Just about keeps it together in ahead of Lewis Redshaw. Absolutely nuts racing here towards the back of the field. This is the kind of racing that I like to get involved with. It's why I'm secretly slow. I have a theory that in order to be the slowest car on track, you have to know how to drive fast in order to avoid it, and therefore we're better than the rest of you. And that is exactly what Keith Story is showing as things come along and alive down into the hairpin chicane there. But Keith Story, got to give him his dues for having a right good old stab down, but Gavin Thomas done well to recover that, as look at Keith Story going right in to have a go at the exit of the swimming pool complex, and Lewis Redshaw thinking I'll have a bit of piece of this, and that was right. A bit of a banzai effort there down in a banzai bash back. What on earth is that? This isn't bumper cars. But Keith's story, well, there's a story to tell at the end of that, but he's knocked 10 stories out of Gavin Thomas's car by the time they've got down to Saint-Devoux. But up into 13th so far for Keith, down to 14th now for Gavin. The gap between our leading two down to 5.4 seconds, so that continues to tumble. Lewis Redshaw now lining him up for attack, and Gavin Thomas, well, his rear end has seen no end of action so far this evening, and we'll see whether it gets tapped again down to Mirabeau. Nope. He's just about kept it all together. And he has got a green rear wing, and that could be the reason why, because it's green to go through, and that might be the problem.
Well, you know, it's going to be interesting to watch this too. We've seen with the pass and move by Keith's story. I mean, Gavin is not someone who enjoys being overtaken, and he's a really combative driver when in a duel. So I don't think, even though Lewis Redshaw has got like a yeah, I was about to say it, he's not going to give it an easy time, but instead Gavin went wide and did just so.
Well, you might as well have wrapped that up in Christmas paper and said Hare Krishna. No, not that. Whatever it is. But he's up for 14th position. Thomas now down to 15, still a lap down, and there's still points to be won here. OJ Clark still just about another 20 seconds behind them in 16th.
And Pavel Loknowski is closing down on Kieran Ryan for P9.
Oh, he has actually. Dissing your second car, he's not too bad in the top 10.
No, I'm not dissing it actually. I mean, the thing is, like, we know Pavel is an extremely fast driver, and he's been fighting for wins in the past, and it's a bit puzzling to see him so far down the order. And we know that he's been having like a lot of graphic glitches that sort of move away the groove on the track after a few laps. So it takes him a little to find braking points and reference points around the track, but he's absolutely a talented driver, and in a duel he could always hold his own.
Fantastic stuff. They're coming up to Simon. Well, they've got Simon Cattell ahead as Kieran Ryan goes in far too deep into Mirabeau, and that's just lucked in Lipnowski. Similarly, Ruud Heasterbeek has been caught by Dave Carr-Smith, and the gap between them has just hit 3 seconds as Dave Carr-Smith continues to monster munch his way through. But interestingly, he's not running at the same pace as the leading duo, who for the first time now it's 4.9 seconds between Morris and Euler as they continue their scrap, as Ryan there pushing the boundaries of curb hopping down into the chicane, and well, much more of that, and I think you'll be hopping by our race admin giving you 40 whips across the backside. But interestingly, they're not really breaking that far away from, or falling that far back from Simon Cattell at the moment, who admittedly is a lap ahead of them. But these two certainly starting to put their wits together.
No, absolutely, and if you look at where they stopped in the first stint, I mean, we had the first stoppers on lap 17, 18, so we're still talking about cars with reasonably shaped tires. I mean, we're not talking about cars.
Ryan's off.
Kieran Ryan,
10th position. Yep, down at Mirabeau he was off, and that was all his own doing. Down at Mirabeau, just outbroke himself, smacks into the barrier. It's quite sillily, in a way. You could see it coming. It would have been better for him to just go down the escape route and then reverse back, but he's lost his front wing, and here comes Mark Stanton, and people are going to have problems because that wing's stuck in the road, and people are going to get damage from it themselves. And I think, as Ryan bounces across the curbs there, behind them was Mark Stanton. Heasterbeek was just behind it too, so let's see how they're all getting on. Everyone looks like they're okay, so long as they avoid it. But yes, definite problems there for those, but that unfortunately puts an end to that battle for the time being, as Ryan peels off into the pits from 10th position. Actually quite an effective lap round without a front wing, to be fair. And that allows Mark Stanton then for Constant Racing suddenly up to 10th position. I was just about to say actually before that happened, Gavin Thomas has got a smoky engine last lap around, but it seems like it's put itself out actually as he went through the tunnel this time round. But I think that engine may be on its last legs as Heasterbeek has got Dave Carr-Smith behind it. Smith? Well, that would be Smith. That sounds like what you'd be like if you were Swedish. Swedish version of the 6th and 7th position. I think we've got another juicy old battle on our hands.
Well, in any case, you should be kind of used to saying Dave Carr-Smith, second bit of the surname.
You would be surprised. These lips have had quite a lot of alcohol. When it hasn't actually, to be fair. Quite a lot of Coke Zero. Been a very long day at the office. That's all I will say. But Carr-Smith immediately reeling them in. The gap between the leading duo down to 3.3 seconds as Euler continues to burn the midnight oil as he continues to close down on Lee Morris with his stilettos.
And as Kieran Ryan came out of the pits, he got out just in front of O.J. Clark. So there could be a pretty juicy battle developing down there.
We do like a little bit of juice, don't we?
Oh, we do.
In fact, I do recommend a little bit of pussy juice. And if you don't believe me, it is real. I've not seen it in the UK though. Couldn't possibly think why.
I did see it in Wales, if that's any consolation.
I'm surprised there's not sheep juice in Wales.
Oh yeah, we do.
Comes with its own woolly holder as Carr-Smith coming in continues to home down on the back of Heasterbeek, which that Heasterbeek, that does sound like that should be a brand of something too, to be fair, as I think Carr-Smith's gonna have a go down into it. Ooh, chopping his beak off with Mr. Heaster. It's interesting to see. I mean, as we've seen with a couple of other drivers, as Cattell into the pits just he was dropped down to 7th position, which now makes us about for 5th as Heasterbeek. My goodness me. He would have bonked his beak if he had continued any further down into that turn. So, yeah. He'll be getting his dander back down as Dave Carr-Smith this time's having none of it. And through he goes side by side now down into the hairpin, and Carr-Smith backs out of it. So, back down the pecking order then for Carr-Smith.
Well, dog defense by the Dutchman. It was... he found himself on the back foot, but he decided, he said just, no, Dave, you're not going through, not now.
Yeah, not down at the chicane either. I do like the fact that when you're defending, actually, people have noticed, just go into the chicane very wide on the entry, because then it stops anyone trying to get through and still gives them enough room, because a lot of people that are too aggressive at defending will just break in a non-straight line and cut across, and therefore you will always be nerfed. These people, and it's one of the good things that I've noticed about pretty much everyone that's defended so far, everyone has been quite good. Lee Morris then rejoins out of the pits from 3rd position. That hands the lead in 2nd position to the Midnight Racing team. Someone else is in the pits as well. That's Mark Stanton in 13th position as Mead and Redshaw move up as the story. Still just 7 drivers on the lead lap currently at the moment. 17 still running in the race, and that's Kieran Ryan facing the wrong way at Rascasse down in 15th position. He's got back going again, and that car does not appear to be damaged somehow, so I don't know how he managed that one. There's Stanton and Clark 13th and 14th position outside by side, and O.J. Clark yoinks it for now, but he of course is due a pit stop very soon, and that's not going to help Lucas Euler, because Euler has got to get past these and still continue to try and pull away from Lee Morris, and the gap between those two 17.4 seconds at the start of this lap, and I don't think that's enough for a pit stop, so Euler will rejoin behind. What they can also do is play the old Roland car, because Roland's only 3 seconds up the road from Lee Morris, and if they've got good team tactics, Roland could suddenly become Big Fat Mama and just hold him up for a little while, just to ensure that Euler can close back in.
Well, much as I like the image of Roland being big fat mama. How much?
With some homemade pie.
How much is Roland willing to put his own championship, ambition to service of his team? Fine, he's the team manager. I think on a straight lap, Lucas has got the edge, but results so far have been saying that Nick is in for the championship, and should he just compromise his race to favour his teammate?
Who knows? It is all juicy business. Good battle going on for 8th and 9th. David Junt, who has pitted, has rejoined behind Pavel Luknovsky, I think. Junt pitted 2 laps ago, and he's certainly quicker, but Luknovsky now up into P8 for the second of the Nordschon Racing teams. Cars doing well, but looking a little bit ragged into the exit of the swimming pool complex. Must be due a stop soon. That will release David Junt up into 8th position. But doing well there, David, for the Red Archer team. Sole Red Archer car remaining, because Yanni was our first crash out way back in lap 1.
Yeah, Red Archer is very curious. I mean, I've been checking the data that they actually publish about team development, and they're the only team that seems to have the only team of those who had the means and capabilities of developing the car much in this first part of the season. They're the only ones that went down a very different alley compared to the other teams. We've had lots of teams developing aerodynamics. Obviously, we know the Midnight as the best aerodynamic package and cannot be improved any further. And they haven't done any single aerodynamic improvement. They've just devoted themselves to work on the wings. So it's a very curious thing, and also like a welcome thing, because far too often you see all the cars following the lead of the leaders, and they try something different. It's at the moment it's not yet paying off.
Yeah, well, they might get some positions through. Dave Carl-Smith's into the pits, but the problem is that Lee Morris has now closed down on Nick Rowland, and this is going to play beautifully into the path of Lucas Euler, because the gap between him and Euler... Ah, God damn! Collision! Rowland has to take to the cutting the chicane. I hope that doesn't give him some kind of strange penalty that he can't then remove or something. But Morris there, that was a little bit too eager beaver. And well, it doesn't matter what kind of development you do in your car and what alley you've gone down. That was a back alley move there from Morris, and that wasn't going to work at all. As OJ Clark has just passed Mark Stanton for 12th position off our screens too. But Rowland there keeps hold of the position as Euler's into the pits, and that's why Euler's going to rejoin behind Lee Morris, and that is why Morris is so desperately trying to get round Rowland, who now goes into the lead of the race. What do you make of that, Will?
Well, I think Lee Morris' move was way too ambitious, very optimistic. There was no way Nick Rowland would have left the door open that much for Lee to go through there. I think it was, I mean, I don't want to get into a battle of words with Lee, especially after the race, but I think it was a silly move. You know, he could have compromised this race. He could have compromised Nick Rowland's race. And I know he's desperate to go through because he needs his strategy to work.
He's going to try again. Oh, dearie me, that's not quite the racing line, and that's a barrier.
He sent him in the barriers. So, I mean, these two drivers will definitely have a chat after the race.
I don't think it will be well, it might be a chat, but it might be being dragged down an alley for the chat with fisticuffs. Either that, it might be the kind of alley that I normally get dragged down, but that's an entirely different story for an entirely different broadcast. Who's that in the pits? Nick Rowland.
It's Nick Rowland.
Yeah, I hope he's turned damage off, because I bet he's got some.
Courtesy of the drag racing vehicle. No, it was a very, very quick stop for Nick Rowland. But that's enough to put him behind Yartayan.
Yeah, Tayan then retakes third position after all that. When was Tayan last in? Oh, he's not been in, that's why. His last stop was on lap 21, so Tayan's still there needing to come in, so that's a false third position for him really over the long run, unless he's planning an exceptionally long middle stint. Rowland rejoins in fourth, quite clear of Ruud Heesterbeek and Simon Cattell. Dave Carr-Smith in 7 with Luknovsky still holding off David Junt in 8th and 9th positions. Good battle between those as Junt continues to size up Pavel, who again is staying out long. We're past halfway now in the race, so if he's free stopping, oh, contact between the two. David Junt takes 8th position out of Sandoval because Luknovsky goes in deep, and that will do well. Luknovsky trying to have a go back at the top of the hill. That was brave stuff.
It was never going to work.
No, but sometimes you might scare them out of thought of trying. OJ Clark in 12th position's got Kieran Ryan behind him again, and Ryan I think is going to have a go down into Sandoval as well. OJ Clark keeps it off.
Euler is beached on a curb.
No!
Euler is beached on a curb.
Oh dearie me. That is the wrong beach to go to in Monaco, Lucas. Oh, watch out, Mark Wicks is coming! Jesus Christ, Lucas. Well, I think that is good night Vienna and good night Monte Carlo.
I'm looking at the replay. He hit the inside wall on the turn, and that spun him over the curb. That's disaster for Midnight Motorsport.
He is pulled over, and that is, well, Monte Carlo or bust. It's bust for Lucas Euler. He is out of the Monaco Grand Prix here at GPVWC. Fancy that!
And well, I would have not have predicted that, and it's well, it was a race.
Teenan's round in second, spinning at the exit of Portier 2. That was a weird one there, kind of splat in the middle. He's got back going again. He's dropped down to third. Rowland is through, but that car is buggered because he's practically giving a sponge bath to the outside wall there. I'm not quite sure what he's doing.
To be honest, I think Jarl had taken a puncture from before, because I'm looking. Yeah, by all means, he had a spin. He had been spinning since early in the lap, and it was absolutely all over the place.
I feel so sorry for the poor old Kono drivers. They've had to negotiate leaders deciding to suicide Angry Bird it down into every corner that they've got possible. What is going on? You don't get 100 points for that, but that car is more crabby than some dirty little troll that's got more to STDs than they should really have, as they pops into the pits from 4th position. I wonder if that car will even get going again, because Dave Carr-Smith moves up into 4, Cattell up into 3rd. I think he's thought his Christmases have come at once for Kerno. He's back going again, is Jarl, but he's shown that he's been very aggressive, and maybe that's been in his undoing, as Ruud, unrudely, takes 5th position. No rude boy stuff from him. And he's got pretty much a whole lap before he catches up to David Junt, as Jeff Mead moves up into 8th. Lewis Redshaw to 9. Luknovsky back into 9th position because Redshaw's in the pit, sorry. And yes.
And I'm pretty sure there's one Lee Morris who's laughing inside his helmet right now.
I'm sure he is, because that has really, really changed the dynamics of this race. Because Lee Morris now can almost run, in effect, in a damage limitation mode, because he's seen off his nearest rivals. Nick Rowland's 22 seconds behind. They're not, what's his last lap? A 1:13.3, so a great lap there by Rowland. Let's see what, a 13.8 by Morris, but that's a second off his PB. So Morris can't afford to get lazy and get his moves out and say, you know what, I'm done for the day, because he's still got hot pressure from behind, and sometimes it's just that chipping away and that dripping of the eye, like that Chinese torture that they call it, and it may push him over the edge. We saw it happen earlier on with Teenan when he lost it, and we saw it also there with Euler losing his head too.
And I think Lee Morris will never feel safe in this race so long as Kieran Ryan is still running. No offense to Kieran, but obviously the experience from last year is still pretty burning for Morris.
Yeah, it's not going. Alright, let's take stock. now that we're down to just the old 16 remaining. Once Mark Wicks completes his next lap round, he'll be up into 16th position. Lee Morris then leads for Drake Racing for 22 seconds ahead of Nick Rowland in second for Midnight Motorsports. Third, 39 seconds off the pace, Simon Cattell, Silent Assassin doing a stunning job. Dave Carr-Smith up to fourth now for Green Stripes Racing, 50 seconds off the leader. Rude Heasterbeek, certainly not too shabby up the pecking order there for Nijo Racing. A minute off the pace. He's got 8 seconds then over Jarl Tienan, who's now dropped down to 6th. So it's really not worked out for him, but he's just had obviously fresh tyres added on, so he'll be in attack mode. 1 lap down is David Junt in 7th for Red Archer, pretty much all on his own, because then 2 laps down suddenly is Pavel Luknovsky in 8th, ahead of Kieran Ryan for Woods Racing in 9th. Keith Story just a couple of seconds behind him in 10th in the second of the Drake Racings. He's a couple of seconds just ahead of Mark Stanton in 11, who's got Lewis Redshaw all over him for Hawkeye Racing in 12th. Those two having a right little scrapperoo. 13th, Jeff Mead for Red 5 Racing. OJ Clark 14th for Synergetic Motorsports. Also Gavin Thomas 2 laps down in 15th in the second Red 5. And Mark Wicks 4 laps down, but still going, and I'll cheer him on strongly for Kerno Sports. You are my friend, Mr. Wicks.
Mark Wicks is one of the most loved and respected drivers in the league. Currently, I think the second most experienced driver in terms of race numbers, only behind Kieran Ryan. And he's such a true gentleman. Everybody enjoys racing him, and it's a shame to see him in those positions. It's obviously been very successful in previous years, but I know everybody wishes him right.
Well, Lewis Redshaw will be wishing that his front wing did not decide to have a divorce, because he's off into the top of the back there, and that is going to be drama. In fact, he's quitted out quite wisely there. He'd lost it by hitting the inside barrier into the chicane. He'd lost his front wing, then continued down and just smashed into the barriers at the end, lost one of the wheels, his front right wheel, and then there were 15. So, reminds me of one of those disturbed endurance races where last place gets eliminated.
Well, you know, this is Monaco for you, and you know, you never can count anyone out of this race. I mean, everything can happen, as we've seen with, you know, a driver who's been dominating the season so far, running into trouble. There was some kind of evil laugh.
I wouldn't say that. I was just looking at Gavin Thomas ending his race down at Portier with a suspension failure, and that is courtesy of problems in the barriers. The problem was that also allowed Nick Rowland to have a little bit of a moment down at the hairpin. Gavin Thomas, one of those drivers that has been into the wall, and that was actually, bizarrely, in the straight coming down to
and there's contact in... Sorry to interrupt you, Simon. There's contact, a fight for P9 between Kieran Ryan and Keith Story. Story went side by side with Kieran on the home straight and tried to move on the outside of Raskas, but that did not work out.
No, good.
Sandoval, sorry.
Yeah, no, good driving there. That's okay. It's okay. That is what sat navs are for.
It has been a long day.
It has been a long day. In fact, we might have to do a Dear Simon moment where you can tell us all about it when the race quietened down a little bit, but we've had quite a lot of thick action here today. And that was one of the many of them, as Keith Story started from the pit lane. There's a wheel in the track. That is not good. Don't hit the wheel, as Mark Stanton's the next one to go across it. In fact, he goes right to the inside, allows Rowland through. Whose wheel is that? Must be from Lewis Redshaw's accident that's still stuck there on the track.
Still there.
His wing is still at the chicane as well, so is it true that actually smacking this will give you a puncture?
Oh, well, he surely... it's possibly like punctures are due to the wings been run over, I think a wheel may actually take away your front wing or worse.
Well,
in any case, you don't really want to, you know.
Yeah, we don't want a demo.
Yeah.
We don't want a demonstration. There's Keith Story there, absolutely hatching a plot on Kieran Ryan. Ryan has spent a lot of the time facing the wrong way, and has spent, well, doing the alternative Monaco. I've often wondered what racetracks would be good in reverse, and I think Monaco would be one of them actually. Going steaming down the hill to Sandovo, surely everyone would forget to brake early enough to do so.
That would be pretty devastating, I think.
Neil plot. No, you wouldn't want to brake failure at all, Mr. Cameraman giggling in my ear. Of course, we've always got Simon Melhuish bringing you the action for your ears, while William Ponissi do the... Yeah, that. You do the eyes. I have to really think about this. Oh God, Simon's become a dribbler. Oh dear. Take over, William. I think I've just had a bit of a brain failure.
And that's stuff that happens, especially after 9.
Blue screen of death. Oh, here comes Keith Story.
Yeah, Keith Story is after the moment that Sandovo is now back in you know, in the diffuser basically of Kieran Ryan. Kieran Ryan, another driver that, you know, you always struggle to overtake. He's a driver who really enjoys a scrap position. Never want to give up position easily. So Keith will need all his overtaking skills sharp and ready. And decided not to try anything at the chicane.
Someone give him a chef's knife because he's going to take a stab at it sooner or later as Nick Rowland's approaching to lap them, and that's always one of the things that you can use around Monaco, of course, is that when you're having to move over for traffic, will Story need to do it? That was very opportunistic there, but I could see him getting a really good run. It's just that second chicane, it may seem like a good idea at the time, but it never is. A Story, one of the things that I have noticed with him is that Novsky has... Oh no, John has rejoined from a pit stop just ahead of him, so that's worked out okay. Story does like to back out nice and early to let the leaders through, and he loses an awful lot of time, but if he can play it carefully, what he would do is then quickly tuck up behind Nick Rowland, and then as Ryan moves out of the way, he can nick through, because I've been done several times like that around Monaco, and you kind of get scared off the racing line.
So basically you're advocating for him to nick behind Nick?
Yeah, Nick behind Nick, it's all good. Someone's in the pits, that's Simon Cattell. He's rejoined in 4th position behind Dave Carr-Smith, who is yet to pit. So we'll see how that one all works out. There was still about 8 or 9 seconds between them, as here comes Nick Rowland, being blocked there a little bit by Kieran Ryan, but he moves out of the way, out of the chicane. He's going to pull back in. Good move there by Ryan. That keeps him ahead of Story, but he's a bit dodgy round the swimming pool, as is Story actually, to be fair.
And Lee Morris is the pits at the moment. He's probably not going to be threatened by Rowland. Should be still out well in front of his rival.
Yeah,
perhaps. He's
maybe not.
No, closer, and Nick Rowland is through.
He's nicked it, hasn't he? Good stuff. Not by far, as Morris rejoins just behind. Now, will Lee Morris be a sensible chap, or will he actually go for the win? I think I know where I'm placing my chips for the evening. If there's any one gamble in Monaco, you know that Lee Morris will put a bit between his teeth and chuzzle on down.
Well, I think Lee showed before to Nick Rowland, even though he was expecting Nick Rowland to pit. He showed what he thought about him and tried to some ambitious overtaking maneuver, let's call them like this. And I think Nick will try and you know, make life difficult for Lee. I'm still amazed that wheel is still in the track, to be honest. Just as an aside.
Gone for a proper holiday, but thankfully I think once you get aware of things, don't you, obviously once you've done a lap or two and you kind of know what's going on, you pick up what's there and kind of roll round it. Good little scrap going on for 5 and 6. Simon Cattell obviously just rejoined from a pit stop right in front of Jarl Tienen. Now Tienen is technically the faster of the two. He's just the one that seems to be more in the barriers than Simon Cattell, who has run a faultless race pretty much so far, and that's why he's sitting in 5th position, not necessarily on pure absolute pace, but he has been quick and good enough to actually capitalise on everyone else's mistakes, sitting there in P5. He's a couple of seconds behind Ruud Heesterbeek, who I believe is yet to pit, but I have seen a real divergence in some of these pit stops, and I think some people are going to try and do it on 2.
Yeah, also take into account one of the things we have in the GPVWC is different pit crews. I mean, some teams have got faster pit crews because they've got like some very, very skilled chief mechanics and mechanic team. They sort of can rely on knowing that the pit crew will get them out back on the road quicker than other teams. So that's one thing. It's not a huge thing, but it can influence your decision when it comes to strategy.
Awesome stuff. There's Lee Morris getting aggressive. He doesn't need to. This is the problem. I think as from what I read of Lee Morris's sim race career on Facebook, there is a very familiar pattern that develops, and no one denies the fact that he is talented in the fact that he's got speed, but bumper cars is not the way, and we saw this earlier on in the race. You need to know, especially around a track like this, when to pick your battles and not to decide to do some kind of suicide version of 300 round the streets of Monaco and scream "We are Sparta" and just ram someone off.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in the past Lee and Joe having some... He went through the wheel. You know, we've seen them having some really, really fair battles, but then we've also seen some very forceful maneuvers from Lee. I'm not saying they're illegal; they're within you know the boundaries of the rules. But let's say that he knows that if he wants to take the lead, he won't use many pleasantries. He will just go and grab it, and it seems like this is the way he's decided to go through with Nick Rowland.
If life was an envelope, he'd be busy pushing it up against the wall.
Yeah. By the way, I'm told that only I can see that wheel. It's gone from the track. For some reason, it still appears on my screens, so there's no need to worry about the remaining wheel from a Lewis Redshaw car.
Well, Keith's story may be coming to an early close. He's spun on the home straight and is in trouble, because he's in the barriers down at turn 1, Keith Story in P13, as Lee Morris has hit a wall as well, so there's problems, and Keith Story retires then for Drake Racing. So unfortunately his story does not have a happy ending. Keith is out. So that is the end of that, but quite what he was... Well, worst place really to spin and hit the wall and get a puncture would be the anti-Nogues corner, because you've got the whole race to get around. Jeff Mead and OJ Clark. OJ Clark has just taken Jeff Mead in the tunnel. That was brave. It's a attempt for Synergetic Motorsports, and energetic certainly was the way to describe that move, but Jeff Mead down to 11 now for Red 5 Racing.
I was looking at the gap between Rowland and Morris, getting like so wide after that little adventure of Morris with the wall. Now it seems like Leah's got back on the back of Nick Rowland, but wonder whether his car has got any problem, especially in the rear axle, as it's gonna affect his race later on.
He's going to have a go. Rowland goes defensive. They've got David Junt just up ahead that they're coming round to lap. Also keep an eye on Heesterbeek, Cattell and Tienen, because they've all closed up to within a second of each other in the battle for 4, 5 and 6. So those lot are not mucking about either, but let's see how the leaders deal with David Junt, who's coming around to be lapped for the second time. A very lonely race for the Red Archer driver in 7th position. He's driving very well and is on course for a nice little collection of points that he can play ping pong with after. But Morris, ooh, Roland, my goodness me. If you made a beat out of that, like you can with Pixel Dunk 4am, that would be happy hardcore. As Morris continues to defend or offend, depending on your view of his driving style, who would ever know. As watch out for Simon Cattell in 5th position, all over the back of Heasterbeek as well, and in fact Cattell, I think, ever so slightly rubbing the wall there in 4, 5 and 6. So got to have a little bit of cross eyes going on to make sure that we keep going with these 13 drivers that are still running and riding in this race.
And I think actually the battle between Roland and Morris is one of the indication that, you know, the R&D system is really creating like the premises for an exciting race, but also like for some teams to have the upper hand. I mean, the way Nick Rowland pulls away on the straights is surely due also to the way his car is set up, because of the way it's built, and that is all down to the developments. They had a much more developed aerodynamics package that they're gonna make to use against Drake Racing, which is a decent car. He's got a great engine, but he's not as developed as his rival.
No, indeed, as Lee Morris has to be a little bit wishy-washy there. Cattell getting very leery in the second chicane, and Teenan's going to have a go through for 4 and 5 positions side by side into the Rascasse, but Cattell gets it. The previous lap round, Teenan there actually hit the wall down at Saint-Deveau, so he's obviously not done with his bashing antics. But yeah, that battle is for real track position by the end of it. It's just that I have a funny feeling that Lee Morris will again go Monaco or bust. And you do wonder for the survival of poor old Roland. Still 13 drivers running. Mark Wick's 4 laps down currently at the moment. Just about to be lapped for the 5th time. He's the next car on their list, and that will be interesting to see what will happen. Mark Wicks gets well out of the way there. No, no, no! And they continue round.
Obviously, it's important for Wicks to get to the end of the race, because top 14 positions, obviously, of those cars who go past 75% point in the race, still qualify for prize money, and that affects a lot of things in the run of the championships. But Lee Morris is the closest he's been to Nick Rowland at this stage in the lap. Gonna attempt perhaps a move. Or
Roland
maybe
just
not.
Roland just pops it right into the middle of the track, doesn't he, down into the chicane, and it doesn't leave enough room for Morris to really decide which way to go. And he seems to favour the outside route, because obviously the inside, it'd be such a tight radius to get your car around, it's impossible to do so. So Roland placing his car in all the right places, and well, I said he'd be a big fat mama. He's, oh dear, into this. No longer does he have to be big fat mama, but that allows Morris to get going.
And so crucial this lap is going to be for Lee Morris. He needs to put absolutely everything he's got in this lap and try to get the undercut.
Where's Roland going to rejoin? Dave Carr-Smith in 3rd position, taking an alternative route well through one of the chicanes at the swimming pool. Is not going to be anywhere near Roland as he rejoins. Some 17-18 seconds really off the pace. Carr-Smith is in for Green Stripes Racing from 3rd position, and then we've got Heasterbeek and Cattell side by side into the Rascasse. Heasterbeek's got the inside line, that will keep him busy from time. And well, Heasterbeek has done so well there, but he's not had so far to Simon behind him, as Dave Carr-Smith is going to rejoin behind those two. Teenan's in as well from position, so that will help out him, and Dave Smith rejoins just behind that battle for what is currently third position between the Nijo Racing and Kerno Sports respectively.
Lee Morris stays out another lap.
Yeah, it does pose potentially now a really interesting way of seeing off the least part of the races. He's now got Jarl to lap. I don't think Jarl will take to that kindly. Oh, yes he does actually. In fact, almost too kindly. Hello, barrier. Could be. But yeah, Lee got an interesting one now. Does he decide that now that he's got track position, let's not pit, we've got 19 laps, 18 laps really left to go. Can I hold on for all I'm worth? I've got 21 second advantage, what can I do? Or does he now quickly pick, as Cattell's got past Heasterbeek, because Heasterbeek's in the pits, getting himself reseeded. It's because it's such an awesome name, I must say it wrong every time. Oh, as Cattell's in the wall in third position, and through goes Dave Smith into it. So Cattell, prize opportunity ruined. Down into turn one with his first mistake of the weekend, spinning round ever so slightly, taps the inside barrier, doesn't break a wing, and gets back going again. But that has ruined any chance that he has of position from Heasterbeek. And that should, in theory, allow Jarl through as well. So that could be fifth for your team.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it will take to see when Simon will eventually pop in. But yeah, coming back to what you were saying about Lee Morris's choices, I don't think he's got a choice. I think he will need to stop another time, whether it's happen sooner or later. But I don't see Lee going all the way with just the tires and you know, the car situation is gone now. He needs to pop in, and whether he's done enough to be in front of Nick, well, that's a different matter.
Certainly indeed. OJ Clark's just made his final stop, and that's allowed Jeff Mead up to 10 and Mark Stanton to 11. OJ Clark with his very patriotic rear wing. Big up, OJ. Rejoins in 12th with the 13 runners, still 2 laps adrift for Synergetic Motorsports, but there was still Mead and Stanton left to pit. Still big up Mark, 5 laps down, but still going strong, and still going to complete 90% of the race if he can keep that all together.
And there's now a big fight between Ruud Heasterbeek and Jartein. And
very good!
Very forcefully through, but he lets Heasterbeek through.
Good stuff. Tell you what, there's only so many things you can do to a bird, and that beak would have tweeted all kinds of stuff when that car attacked. Teenan back down to 6th then. Gentlemanly thing to do. Well done, Jarl. And, well, take 2 for Nijo Racing versus Norge. How do you say that?
Norsen.
You make it so easy. You European, you.
It is easy. It's Norwegian.
Well, I wouldn't let that be a broad statement for all Norwegians that it's easy, but Teenan! Round he goes. Well, round she goes.
I can say that I've been thinking something else in Norwegian right now, and that's not something I would put on a broadcast.
I wouldn't even know it if you said it. I'm assuming it will have one of those strange O's that should be a 0 because it's got a line through it. But yes.
But that actually, in the name of Norsen, that's how it should be written. It's just like that. R Factor doesn't really like that letter, so.
Nick Rowland is going to take the lead, or is he? Larry Morris rejoins.
He's not! He's not!
Rowland's got the hot tyres. Larry Morris has got to get it back up going again. And they've got David Junt right up ahead that they're about to try and lap. Junt gets well out of the way. Rowland switching around from left to right to try and find a way through. Battle is on.
Oh, there's a bit of a loft up there.
We also think Lee Morris crossed the yellow line on the exit of the pits to make sure that he stayed ahead of Nick Rowland as well. So that will be looked into. Eagle Eye Cherry, Mr. Cameraman himself, has been busy snooping around, and as Morris holds off, he's going to have better tyres once they're up to racing speed from Roland, but I'm not sure what that will mean, Will.
Sorry, I was checking the replay. Can you come again?
What will that mean if he has crossed the yellow line on the exit? Do we count that as Cattell's in from 5th?
Unfortunately for Lee, I've been looking at the replay and he does cross the line on the outside. If that gets reported, and I suppose that
we've not helped matters, have we?
We definitely haven't. So, especially with Nick Rowland being so close, he would have noticed anyway. If they reported in, I think a penalty of some sort will be due. Whether it's like for this race or the next race, that's up to the discretion of the disciplinary committee. But with the race so close and Lee Morris getting out of the pits just meters in front of Nick Rowland, I would be surprised if a penalty wasn't applied to this race. But then again, that's just my opinion, and it's not going to influence the DC.
So you don't have to honour judges, we can do Judge Ponissi?
No, but it's something we can add for the weeks when there's no Super League.
Okay.
That's a good format.
That is a good one. In fact, I believe there may be some pictures of that, along with you partying with a certain Mr. Mosley in all kinds of weird shenanigans, as Rowland's still not giving up though, as Lee Morris continues to lead the way. Just about. Cattell is a lap down, that car, in 3rd position, so he's not really involved in it, but he is rejoined in 6th position.
And that's interesting, because with Yartayan spinning there, he still managed to get a position over Simon.
He did, because Cattell obviously he done a similar spin, only he done it worse down in Sandovo and lost even far more time. So in a backwards way, I think there's no Norwegian swear words for you just yet.
Yeah, actually, the one who gained the most out of the situation was Hestebeck.
Yeah, Hestebeck or Beek or
Beek.
I don't know.
Yeah. That Dutch guy.
Rude boy himself,
Rude.
up into 4th position for Nido Racing. We'll soon see how that works out for him, but yes, he's definitely been the sneaky squirrel of the race, and that's worked out nicely for him. Junt 7, Ryan in 8, Luknovski now up into 9th position, with Mark Stanton currently holding off 10th ahead of OJ Clark. Jeff Mead now down to 12th now that he's pitted. Mark Wick still 5 laps adrift in 13th position, doing a mighty fine job for Kerno. Our retirement so far: Keith Story, Lewis Redshaw, Gavin Thomas, Lucas Euler, Christoph Lichtenstein, David Stanton, Tom Parker, Chris Williamson, Yanni Taskin and Bart DeVoe. And that was our lot, as Rowland very leery on the exit of Sandovo. And he'll want less of that, a little bit more forward action. You would have thought. But, so, you're leading the race, you've got someone who may look at putting in a protest or something behind you. Surely Lee Morris now has got to go pedal to the metal in case it's a time penalty, so that he can try and pull out as much of a gap as possible.
I know, and I think he's doing it. He's increasing the gap over Nick. Whether it's because he's pushing or because Nick is playing conservative with his tyres, we can't really know. But Lee Morris, I don't know if he noticed. It was just a marginal crossing of the line, but it was a crossing nonetheless. I mean, I don't know if he noticed, but if he did, he must be dead worried into that helmet of his, because he knows that that's a no-go, and drivers have been punished before for that.
And of course, this race is going to have epic proportion or contortions even on the Drivers' Championship, because obviously Lucas Euler already out, and he's our championship leader, so Nick Rowland, regardless of if he's first or second, so long as he gets home and gets some juicy points, will potentially move up into the championship lead. And Lee Morris, of course, is not going to be losing sight of that too. He's 3rd overall in the championship with 48 points, and he'll be trying to maximise the impact of this overall, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny season. Yeah, you have to. I mean, despite Midnight being so dominant in terms of raw speed and pace, both in terms of drivers and the car. There's so many things that are going the wrong way for them. You know, if you look at Lucas, there will be 6 races. He's been in dominant form, yet he won only 3 of them. The championships is still wide open. It's a shame that Joe Consiglio retired, because you know it's a long season, and we're seeing that, you know, many things can happen that can put a dent into any advantage.
And so Nick Rowland got the fastest lap that time round. They won, well, bringing the gap down to 1.2 seconds. Carl Smith still only 36 seconds behind in third. I think he'd be quite pleased with that, considering he's had to battle his way through. So that's quite good. Any particular standout drives for you so far, Will?
Well, it's really. I would have said Simon Cattell, because he was having like a brilliant race in an underpowered car, and he did that mistake that costed him probably a P4 finish, at least for the time being. And I would say anyone between Lee and Nick, because the drivers that did the least mistakes, and they're set to reap the biggest, you know, rewards from this race. So whoever comes out on top between the two of them. What do you think?
So, well, we shall see what pops up there, as just getting some behind the scenes shuffling going on about this potential of a penalty. We'll keep that to a minimum for the time being. Jeff Mee's just gone 3 laps down in 12th position for the Red 5 racing team. So obviously GPVWC, big old league. How'd you get yourself involved on lap 69 of 78?
Well, lap 69 always my favourite one.
Well, it starts the other way at lap 70.
As well. How did I get involved? It was the league has been around since 2000. Was obviously founded by Dan Lawrence. I wasn't part of it yet then, and I joined as a driver in 2002. Got control of a team around halfway through the season, and been part of it ever since. 2003, following the departure of the current league admin, together with Andy Crichton, who's recently been back on the forums, we took over the league. We changed the name because of, you know, naming issues, and we've been running it ever since, with a few personnel changes. And the league in the current incarnation is from the start of the 2008 season, and it's been a passion of mine, and I'm really happy putting in the hours. Obviously, I couldn't be doing any of these without all the people that work for the league. I'm just going to mention a few, obviously, like Dave Carr-Smith, who's doing a lot of the running when I'm out and about on my trips or job-related travels. But, you know, people like you guys, and you know, obviously the other Simon with the cameras, and countless others. I'm thinking the graphics of Rick Scott and Adam Rouse, Chris Williamson, who's been doing so much behind the scenes work, Adam Smith, Luke on the forums, and I mean, they're really too much to mention them all, because I'll definitely forget someone. But I think that's what makes the league so strong.
Cattell's off in 6th position, and that's no front wing for him. And, well, that was an interesting diversion down at Sandovo.
It looks like he may have some puncture as well, so there could be a very long lap for Cattell.
In fact, that was his 2nd off, because he spun at the final corner, and that was traumas for him. Just very similar to how we lost Keith's story, wasn't it? Down to turn 1. In fact, identical, dearly, but Cattell a long way back. Thankfully, he's got a lap exactly over David Junt, who is just coming up to the top of Massenet now, I think it is. Yeah, but Cattell, that is proper trying to get round Monaco with a steamroller, trying to desperately turn in. And well, that car looking very much worse for wear. If he can make it back, he's still going to potentially have 6th position as he gets out of the way of Junt. Just got to tippy-toe it round the tunnel. Must be so infuriating as a driver, though.
Better on. Do you think Junt will take the position?
No, we shall see. We shall see. But as Cattell tippy-toes back, obviously, other people out there watching the broadcast might be booing and hissing and saying, I can do better than that. If someone wants to join in from scratch, how do you get involved?
Well, it's very easy. There's plenty of options to get in with several series catering for basically every level of ability. Easiest way to join is register on our website, www.gpvwc.com. Once you're in the website, you can register your interest to be a driver or even take a bigger challenge and be a team manager. And once you do that, there's the forums. There's a very thriving community, which is the real heart of our league, and that's where drivers and managers advertise to find drivers or find a drive.
Fantastic stuff, and 2 drivers that are battling it out like mad at 10th and 11th positions. Mark Stanton and OJ Clark battling for position. Constant Racing versus Synergetic Motorsports for the final position in the top 10, and that will obviously mean a lot of money for them and then potential for development in the R&D stuff later on. Kieran Ryan has dropped down to 9th position, and that's because Pavel Luknovsky had dived through the chicane, overtaken him, and has now just let Kieran Ryan back through again. So battles for 8th and 9th and for 10th and 11th still rocking on in the final laps here.
Yeah, and then Simon Cattell managed to, hold on to a 6th position, was well clear of David Junt, but surely a big scare for the Englishman.
Yeah, time now to just reel it in and bring it on home, as Roland continues to just stay about a second behind Lee Morris up front. No dramas going on there, although they're about to lap Jari Tynan, so that could be problems if he's having one of his whoopsie-daisy moments. Stanton continues to just about hold off OJ Clark, but they're practically together coming up the hill on the lap, as OJ Clark having a look down the inside into the second, coming out of the Casino Square, and I think he'll have a stab down into Mirabeau. Down the outside, that'll be interesting if he gets the inside for the corner. That's a great move there by Stanton. OJ, if he can hold it. Mark Stanton there taps the rear end. Nothing he can do, and they're through before they just get lapped for the 3rd time. Great move there by OJ Clark up into 10th position. Oh, Kieran Ryan without a front wing in P9. That's not gone to plan. He was busy back. Oh, he spun on the exit of Portier 2. Smacks the barriers, out he goes. Pavel Luknovsky says thank you very much and yoinks back the 8th position that Ryan had just stolen from him. So, swings and roundabouts for Kieran. Not been quite his day, has it?
No, but surely better than last year.
What happened last year? Did you divulge?
Last year Kieran Ryan had I'm sure he won't be overly pleased reliving that moment, but it was roughly like 11th or 12th, and he spun, got stuck, beached on a curb, tried to get away. Unfortunately, the car got unstuck from the curb just as Jason Muscat, who was running 2nd in the championship at the time, or 3rd, was approaching, and they smashed. Few seconds later, Joe Consiglio, 2nd in the championship, was on the scene and couldn't avoid the wreck. And no less than a minute later, with the car still in position, Lee Morris, championship leader, got in and was the top 3 retired within a minute of each other, all courtesy of the same And obviously, the only one to emerge from the wreck was Dave Smith, who went on to win.
Well, that is a destruction derby. Kieran Ryan rejoins in 11th position. OJ Clark goes up to 9 and Mark Stanton up to 10th positions, and they say thank you very much as they go 3 laps down as the leaders pass them. Still, Kieran Ryan got a fairly substantial gap over Jeff Mead. They've got the tunnel and the chicane. Mark Wicks has just gone 6 laps adrift for the Kerno Sport Car, but still going well in 13th position, and that is all valuable dosh when it comes to it in the end.
And I think it's safe to assume that Nick Rowland probably may have got like a radio communication about possible penalty to Lee Morris, because it seems like he's settled on the same pace as Lee. He's not pushing any harder, but he's keeping within the bracket of a possible time penalty. So surely, I mean, knowing that Lucas Euler is retired, that would be enough, for him to get back in the lead of the championship.
Absolutely. So Roland doing just exactly what he needs to do to just stay right in behind, and he's keeping himself very much in just making sure that Lee Morris knows he's there, but he's not necessarily pushing to the extreme limits maybe. But fantastic stuff by any of these that come to the end of the race. It's such a grueling event in general, and you can't have a lapse in concentration, because as soon as you do, it is time to switch off the PC and go to bed, because frankly that's nothing but what you deserve when you exit the race, as several of the drivers have done.
It's a merciless track. I mean, you're not allowed reprieve, you're not allowed a second chance. You do a mistake and you're in the wall. And that's the beauty of it. If you consider it's so unlike any other track in the world. It's just unique, and that's why we race on it.
That's why we keep coming back, and it's why we love it. Especially as a lot of these Grand Prix tracks these days seem to get in further and further muted in a way. They've lost all their schrotums because basically they've had all of their gravel traps and barriers taken away, and it's just tarmac runoff areas. And while that does keep most cars on the track, there needs to still be that punishment element, I think, in some ways. And it's good to see that sim racing hasn't necessarily shied away from it that much.
And I mean, I think most of the tracks nowadays have been emasculated. You want it, obviously, you want all drivers in real life to be safe. You don't want anyone to get injured. But at the same time, you don't want mistakes to go unpunished.
Yeah,
I mean, the good old-fashioned gravel trap would, end your race. And nowadays you don't get it anymore. You can driver, guess his braking point wrong. You can just, go a couple of 100 meters outside on the tarmac and then rejoin the race, having lost what, half a second, 2 seconds at most.
And to be honest, although in this race, as we are now in the final lap here at the Monte Carlo Grand Prix of GPVWC 2012, Lee Morris only needs to lose 1.2 seconds, and that would lose him the lead in general, regardless of a steward's inquiry potential or not. But yes, I absolutely agree. Let's get out some whippity whips and see some days where punishments go, well, get dished out left, right and centre. Punishment is certainly what Lee Morris has been given today, and regardless of who takes the checkered flag, Lee Morris has done it and taken it for now, winning the GPVWC race here of 2012 at Monte Carlo for drag racing. Second comes home Nick Rowland, just 1.1 seconds behind, 1 hour 37 minutes 34 seconds. That took Lee Morris to wrap that one up. We shall see what happens post-race, but for the time being, Lee Morris has got it. Dave Carr-Smith, third position, as he comes around the last couple of corners. For Green Stripes Racing, he's going to be about 38 seconds off the pace, which isn't bad from a burn from the back at all. And the sole other cars still on the lead lap needing to get home is Ruud Heesterbeek for Nijo Racing, or he needs to beak even. I don't know. Do you know what? That'll be one for the books. We can do a montage of me butchering that poor guy's name. But rude, never mind. You've done damn good, mate, in 4th. 1 lap down then, Jari Tynan for 5th. Not too bad for your little team there.
No, I mean, obviously, considering all that both drivers went through, we got Pavel in 8th and obviously Jarl in 5th. So it's a good amount of points. It's never easy to get your absolute Super League debut in a place like Monaco. So we're obviously delighted about his performance.
As is rude as he pops across the line. Well done. 6th place then for Simon Cattell, 2 laps down, managing to get that for Kerno, ahead of David Junt for Red Archer in 7. Pavel Luknovsky, of course, as was already said, coming home a stupendous 8th ahead of OJ Clark, who yoinked 9th position from Mark Stanton in the dying laps there. Kieran Ryan robbed himself of 9th position and ends up 3 laps down in 11th for Wood Racing, but still good result nonetheless. Jeff Mead 3 laps down in 12th position for Red 5 Racing, and Mark Wicks did indeed make it home 6 laps adrift. That doesn't matter. 13th position, still very much a classified finisher for Kerno Sport in 13th position. That's our retirements in order of retirement. Bart DeVoe did not start. Yanni Taskanen, lap 1, crashed out, then pulled over and retired. Chris Williamson made it to lap 13 before he went out. Tom Parker, lap 17, he crashed, as did David Stanton, retiring on lap 17 as well. Christoph Lichtenstein retired from a crash on lap 20. Lucas Euler from crash damage on lap 39. Gavin Thomas into the barriers on lap 42. Lewis Redshaw for Hawkeye Racing crashing out on the same lap as well, but in a separate accident, whilst Keith Story decided to pummel it into the wall on lap 51.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless of what will happen with the stewards afterwards, hats off to Lee and Nick. Amazing racing, you know. They kept it out of the walls, which is probably like the only 2 drivers that had a completely clean race. And you know, we knew that Lee was a Monaco specialist, but to see also Nick fighting blow by blow until the you know, very last lap. Well, congratulations to a worthy winner and a worthy new championship leader.
Absolutely indeed. Fantastic action all the way across the field. Hats off to everyone that came home. Hats off to everyone that took part. Taking part is really what matters here at GPVWC, apart from obviously winning champagne and treats that you all give yourselves. You do anything for your drivers if you take a good win?
Well, in the past, we've always had the possibilities, knowing it was Joe, that we would meet at the end of the season, and then it would be a few drinks or, you know, a meal on the team's expenses. But obviously, it's a bit more difficult now with Jarl. Although I'm in Norway pretty often, but I'll be thinking about something, and you know, I really try to reward. You know, those drivers that really put in a lot on their time, you know, for the team. So definitely something will happen.
Well, Pavel and Jari, I think you're off to Disneyland.
Well, that could actually happen.
Oh dear. Well, let's hope they do better on some of the more Mickey Mouse tracks. Boom cha. Sorry, that was awful. Well, I don't think we've got anyone popping in. Oh, have we got an interview queue? Oh my goodness me, that's like a gangbang down there in the interview queue. Let's get them in before someone gets all crabby like some of the cars, and then we have to get an STD clinic running. Who have we got? I think we should take out the winner first, surely. Mr. Morris, apparently the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix here. How does it feel?
Superb, absolutely superb. Just haven't moved me. It's I didn't expect it.
So obviously you was involved in quite a lot of on-track shenanigans going on there. You did seem like you had drunk enough wife beater to beat your car around several of the cars before you got to the front of the field. Some good moves though, and some good soaking up of some spongy trouble there with Nick Rowland following you home for the last third of the race.
Yeah, I wasn't happy at some of the manoeuvres that people pulled out there. I don't actually believe I did any unclean manoeuvres. I raced fairly throughout the race, and I made a couple of manoeuvres on Nick early on, and when I made the manoeuvre, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was like 2 seconds lap slower, and I went down the inside, and basically his car turned in even though I was there, and he basically tried to put me in the wall, I believe, and it's obviously because Lucas was going to win the race at that stage. I needed to get past Nick. I knew he was on 3 stops. That was the only contact I had with any car, I believe. The rest of the race was pretty clean. There was a couple of moments early on where it was quite close, but there was nothing serious as such.
So, the other thing that I'm desperate to ask then, regardless of what kind of happens going forward from this, your pit lane exit out of your final pit stop, which side of the little yellow line did you think you came out over?
I don't know, I got told from Scott Wilbis, who was in the channel with me watching for me, obviously being my spotter as such, and he said they were talking about the broadcast that I cut the exit. Now, I'm not fully aware if I did or didn't. If I have fair play. But all I will say is that if I have, and I do get a penalty, I will be appealing it, because no one has been penalised all the way through the season, as far as I'm aware, for cutting white lines, and every race it happens. It happened last night in the Super Cup multiple times, and no one got penalties. So if that happens to me because I won the race, then I'm afraid that won't go down too well.
Wow. That's probably the most miserable winner I've seen in a long time. Never mind. Oh, well,
it's been soured slightly, let's say, because you win the race, and I'm not happy at how I won the race, because it just didn't seem right. With I was competitive today. We was quick. I don't think it was as quick as Lucas, but we had track position on him, and basically I was trying to do the undercutting him every single pit stop to make sure I came out in front of him and I had a decent gap, because he was catching me every stint. And then when I catch up to Nick, who I expected to be a fair driver at that point, he just turned in on me, and then when I did try and pass him the second time round, I'd brake way too late. I would have let him back past, but I get a ram up the rear of the car and it nearly puts me in the wall, so I don't actually know what was going on there. It's not like Nick at all, so obviously desperation kicked in.
Well, I'm sure everyone's got their own fair opinions on that, but yeah, I wouldn't complain too much of being rammed up the rear, because I never have in my lifetime. Moving on to second position then, Nick Rowland, who came home in second position. You was a little bit of a stealthy squirrel, and you came home in P2 at the end of it all. Talk us through it.
Chaotic, to be honest with you. The start was mental, because I was trying to avoid a constant going into turn 1, and I think I was ahead of Rude. So I got informed by one of the race directors that I had to give the position back, and in turn Lucas then went by as well, so I'd fallen way off the back of Lee, unfortunately. And then I just tried to run my own race. I had terrible problems under braking for some reason when it came to the race, so I had to adapt my braking massively from anything I was doing. The bias was changing every single lap, every single corner in some respects. A few issues with the braking, but yeah, I was just able to maintain it, made my 3-stop work. Tyres went off a little bit faster than I was expecting, but I was still able to hold a consistent enough pace.
And of course, I think, dependent on what... well, no, actually not at all, because Lucas Oiler did not score any points. That pops you now into the championship lead, as far as I can work out. I'm not sure about my maths. I am an Essex blonde. How does it feel to be up on top of that standings for the time being?
It's a nice feeling, but I'm bitterly disappointed for Lucas. Just a bit of chat that happened throughout the race, and I think it was just a bit of distraction, and it just accumulated into a couple of bad corners, and it just didn't work out. So I'm sort of semi-happy I'm leading it, but I'm also massively disappointed and gutted for Lucas.
Oh, indeed. Thank you very much, Nick. And then on third place on the podium, obviously Dave Carr-Smith himself popped up and took that after a rather difficult opening there, Dave.
It turned out to be fun though, didn't it? Yeah, I don't know what happened on the start. Obviously a lot of people bogged down. Fair few taps from a certain P2 car. I'm not sure what happened there either, but we'll have to look at that later. And then I just turned in too early into the back and got a puncture.
Okay, but yeah, obviously some great overtaking action recovering up through the field, especially in the midfield pack where there was about 6 or 7 drivers. I know David Junt was involved, we'll get to him in a bit, where they was all busy squabbling over themselves with some nice clean action going on. It must have been quite satisfying to ascend back up the order and pull off some quite dastardly overtaking moves.
Yeah, some of them were a bit risky, but when you're positioned like that, you've got to try it anyway. They were fair. They drove fairly. They gave me plenty of room. So thank you to them for that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dave. We've also got in here David Junt, who came home, I think it was 7th position in the end. He had a very lonely race, but again was another man that was spent down the back end of the field to begin with and pulled off some rather fantastic overtaking moves to get up to the position he was. Good race there, Dave.
Thanks, but when did I actually overtake in this race?
You might have to speak up a little bit there. It's a little bit too quiet even for my pretty little ears to hear.
Indeed, I'm fighting microphone problems all the time. At least Evan says that, but I didn't really much overtake in this race, I think. The only overtake I really think I did was on Pavel into or out of turn 1. But I was quite disappointed with the first qualifying because P13 wasn't like I wanted to happen.
Well, not to worry, it's still a nice little haul of points which can't do you any harm whatsoever, so that must be nice for you going forward.
Yes, indeed. I mean, well, everyone around me had some problems like Dave Stanton and Gavin Thomas with the spin. I've just kept it out of trouble and, well, it's finishing 7th like last year, so I think I can be really happy because it was just a plan to finish the race without many problems, and so here we are.
Good stuff, good stuff. Just a quick throwback. I was going to avoid it, but actually, let's get some hot, saucy stuff going on in the broadcast room that doesn't involve my moves. Nick Rowland, have you got any response there to Lee Morris's comments on being put in the wall, etc.?
On the position-wise, not really. Both times he went to the inside, and both times he overshot the chicane. Second time I couldn't really avoid not turning in, so I just carried on. That was basically it.
Okay. Well, I think that could be a debate that goes on and on and on and on, longer than it takes me to do a lap of the Nordschleife itself. We've got Lucas in here. I don't know if he's up for an interview. He's sitting very quietly there. Lucas, are you available to talk us through the unfortunate end of your championship lead and the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix itself?
Well, I wasn't sure in the beginning what Lee was on, what strategy, but after the second stop it became quite clear that he was on a 4-stop, with me being on a 3-stop, so I knew I basically had just to drive it home, and that's where I maybe lost concentration. I hit the wall with the rear right wheel and got stuck on the curb, and afterwards my engine blew, so a bit disappointed, of course, with because it was my fault, but it's not even halfway of the season, so still a lot of races to go.
Absolutely, plenty of time for Dave Smith, Lee Morris, Nick Rowland, David Junt, Lucas Euler, and everyone else that takes part in GPVWC to get their skates on, get their R&D sorted, and continue on going. William, what can you do to sum up that for us?
Well, it's been a very exciting race. It's been in the balance for so long, and we saw that despite some teams being at different stages in development, it's still down to some really spirited and some really exceptional performances by drivers, and sometimes some mistakes by the drivers to make like an exceptional and exciting race. So it sure spells positively for the rest of the season. It's still a long season, and the championship is as wide as it could ever be.
Fantastic. It is wider than my hips, must be said. Driver of the race, Will?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh, driver of the race. Well, if there will be a lot of talking about this on the forums, but I would say like Lee Morris is a massive Monaco specialist. He told well in advance that Monaco would be his real start of the season. So in a sense, we were expecting him to do really well. So I would say, against all odds, Nick Rowland.
Okay. And my driver of the race is going to be Mark Wicks for bringing it home in the face of adversity like a true backmarker would do. Hats off to you, mate. You are the snail personified. And that takes guts and determination to keep going round when you know that you're soldiering around at the back of the field. And I know it very well. Scott Woodwist, thank you very much for quickly messaging me just to say that Nick Rowland now leads the championship with 72 points, ahead of Lee Morris, now second with 63. And of course, Bika Siler still in third with 62. I think that pretty much about wraps it up, doesn't it, Will?
It sure does. I mean, it's going to be 2 long weeks to the next race, and I can't wait.
Neither can I. I'll be chomping at the bit to see exactly what happens, and you lot can too. Just go on to gpvwc.com and sign yourself up if you want to get involved in the action. If you just fancy chubbing out with me with a few snacks, beers, and a little bit of cushiness, come along to simrace.tv and we'll be broadcasting live as ever. Might not necessarily be myself, and maybe the regular commentators will be back, but it's been an absolute privilege to be part of this action with you here today. Thank you very much to Simon Melhuish for being cameraman extraordinaire as ever. Thank you as ever to William Ponissi for being the best that a sports car dog breed could be. And my name's Simon Smith. Thank you very much for taking part, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. You take care. Bye for now.